morning. Pop, lock it, drop it. Pop, lock it, drop it. Oh, I was just listening to that song. Anyway, good morning, Hasta la vista. Good morning, everybody. I hope everyone is doing well. It's Friday. Happy Friday. So today, pop, lock it, drop it. Pop, lock it, drop it. That's going to be in my head all day long now. So today, I am going to talk about forgiveness. Forgiveness. I've talked about it before, but I don't think I've talked about it in this way. So, you know, we're coming towards the end of the year, which means the beginning of a new year. And people like fresh starts, and people use the first of the year as a time to change who they are. Many attempts, many fails, but it's still an attempt nonetheless. So, you know, I think forgiveness should be one of those things that people try to incorporate into their lives. And it's so important because, well, let me just say this. Many people don't like to forgive because they feel that the person that they're forgiving is being let off the hook. And that's the real reason for this video. I just had my sunglasses on. Now I do not need my sunglasses. One moment, I need some coffee. My mouth is dry. I didn't even think I mixed it. Ooh, I can't even see the city because of the fog or the haze or whatever. Feels so good. It tastes good. So many people believe that if they forgive, that the other person is being let off the hook, and that's not the case. The truth of forgiveness is this: forgiveness lets you off the hook. Forgiveness is something that releases you from bondage. It releases you from the degradation. It releases you from the hold of anger, of sadness, of pain. That's what it does. It releases you from it. It doesn't release them from it. They're still on the hook for whatever they did to you. But, and this is why it's, you know, this whole eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth thing is unloving. And it's in the Bible, I understand that. But it still doesn't change the fact that it's unloving, and it's not something that the Creator stands behind, which is interesting because the Bible is said to be the Word of God. But even you listening to this right now, you know that forgiveness is the thing that you're supposed to strive for. It's the best thing for you, not because you have to, but because it's the best thing for you. It is a law, is a rule, however you want to word it or look at it. But it is for your benefit. It is a loving thing. Forgiveness is a loving thing. And the thing is, you have power as the person who is doing the forgiving. You have the power to release yourself from that degradation, that hatred that is swirling within you, that anger that's swirling within you, the fear that other people would do it that swirls within you. And you also release the other person from having all of that I just mentioned projected at them. So you help yourself and you help the others when you forgive. What is that noise? 1 second. Waterloo. Waterloo. So, I have Waterloo water. That's why I'm saying Waterloo. Waterloo. Oh, wow, look at that fog. That looks cool. Let's get a little closer. Bloop. That's cool. Get closer. Closer. Oh, that's ugly. That's ugly. Oh, that's cool. That's good. That is so cool. I like that. Let's back it up. Pop, lock it, drop it. Pop, lock it, drop it. Anyway, back to what I was saying. You know, forgiveness is that thing that I've learned to incorporate in my life more so than before. I'm not saying I do it all the time, but what I try to do is not put myself in a position where I have to forgive. Meaning, if I put myself in a position where I don't have anger to begin with. I don't condemn someone for what they've done to me. That's what I try to do. In the past, I wouldn't do that. I would be angry at what people did to me, and then I would have to go through the process of having to forgive them for that. But now I just look at the situation right away, kind of like real time. It's like first the event happens, and then I look at it and I try to have understanding as to why it's happening to me and why they're doing it, because there's always a reason why they're doing it, and there's always a reason why I'm responding the way that I'm responding. And so it's my responsibility to myself, and in efforts to not degrade my soul any further, and to identify anything that's already degraded that dwells within me. And so this is the power of forgiveness. But it has nothing to do with letting anyone off the hook. Nobody is off the hook, people. Nobody is ever off of the hook. You may think because, and here's the thing. When someone says you're off the hook, or someone wants you to be on the hook, what they're really looking for are man's laws to be in action. They're looking for the universal laws to be in action. But more specifically, they're looking at action in a particular way, in a way that they want to see happen. So when someone says, oh, I'm not going to forgive you and let you off the hook, I want you to pay, I want you to suffer, so that may mean...
There's a disabled vehicle ahead.
Sorry. That's how loud I was listening to Pop Lock It Drop It. They look at the laws that can be applied to them. You know, it could be going to jail. It could be losing their job. It could be the relationship failing. It could be it could be other people hating them. Because now that I say that, that's actually what's going on right now with me at work. So, so I know what I'm talking about. You know, I'm talking from experience. And throughout this, and it hasn't been happening a long time. It's just recently happened, and it came from one person. Let me tell you, mediocrity is contagious, people. Evil is contagious, but it's not so much it's contagious. It kind of when people come with a bad negative energy and they exude that energy, they express that energy, and they make it into they put it into physical form where you can actually see events and actions being taken. What happens is other people are saying, oh, well, I feel that. I feel anger too. I can release my anger this way too. I can hate this person too. I can not like that person. But understand, so, you know, understand that that was already present within them. It just, you know, some people allow them to express it, and that's fine. Like, I welcome that, because I know at some point they're going to continue to do this, and they're going to have to pay for what they've done. This is why I say, don't look for someone. It's like when you forgive someone, don't look for them to be punished. Forgive them for what they're doing, because they know not what they do. They truly do not know what they do. I can tell you that the people who are being passive aggressive with me and, you know, look, they're not defying me, they're defying the agency. I would never ask anybody to do anything other than what they're expected to do. That's within their job title. That's within their role. But as long as they're resistant, they're jeopardizing their own employment, and that's what I see. And the thing is, other people see it too. So it's not that I need to be angry with them for treating me badly or disrespecting me in any way. I have to have compassion for them. And the reason why I have to, or actually I should say, the reason why I can have compassion for them is because I do have understanding. I do understand what's going on within them. I saw the misery long before it came to me. Long before it came to me, I saw that they were miserable. I noticed this stuff early on. It just wasn't being directed at me. It was being directed towards other people. And I'm just next in line, and that's fine. I understand that I'm a cooperative component to that. So I'm not angry at that. It really shows me what I need to work on inside still. That's all the universe is showing me. So how can I be angry when I'm being given such a great gift? You hear? How can I be angry when I'm being given such a great gift? A gift of reflection. I'm able to see what's within me, and I'm able to see what's within them. I can see the pain that's within them. And so this is why it's important to have understanding, so that you can have forgiveness. So you can have compassion and allow yourself to forgive the things that they're doing. And sometimes you don't even have to you don't have to forgive them if you don't condemn them, if you don't blame them, if you don't judge them. Then there's no reason to forgive, because you haven't done anything. You haven't incurred any pain. But if you do incur pain and you feel some type of way about it, then yes, it's your responsibility to yourself to release yourself of that anger, of that frustration, of that irritation. But like I said, if you don't take it that way and you take it as a gift that it is, then you won't have anything to forgive. And they're still on the hook. They will continue to be on the hook for a very long time until they apologize. And I'm not saying they have to apologize to me or you, but they have to ask for forgiveness from the Creator. Then they have to forgive themselves for doing it. And so this is why, and that's a lot of work. That's a lot of work. So so you can understand. Some people don't know how to understand the whole, how it's, they say, oh, it's difficult to forgive myself for the things that I've done to other people. But if you look at other people and how difficult it is for them to ask for forgiveness and to forgive themselves, then you truly understand why people can't do it. And you don't get mad when they don't do it. Because a lot of people get mad when someone doesn't apologize. A lot of people get mad, and it's difficult because it's hard to look at self. But it's hard to look at self when you ask for self-forgiveness. When you ask the Creator to forgive you. When you ask another one to forgive you. You say, you know what, when you, what is it, repentance. But this is all part of understanding. It's like you won't condemn another person for not being able to do do the loving thing, because you'll be able to see in yourself how difficult it is to do that loving thing. So, I just wanted to talk about, people being let off the hook. That's not what it means. But I can tell you this, if you don't forgive, you're on the hook. That's why it's so important to forgive, because you don't want to be on the hook for it. As long as you're on the hook for it, that means that the universe is going to continue to bring you events to remind you of the thing that you did, of the unloving thing that you did. It's also going to remind you of the unloving things that you let into your soul. Because a loving being would never let anything unloving into their being. A loving being would never do that. But because it happens all the time, meaning you accept what your parents say about you. If they condemn you, you accept your friends, how they think and feel about you. You allow them to condemn you. You allow them to control you. You allow them to put ideas in your mind that are unloving. You allow all these things, and the thing is, you are allowing it. When you stay there, when you stand there and you take the criticism that comes from an unloving place, you're allowing that inside of you. I know at times as kids, you don't have any knowledge of what's going on. You don't have an understanding as to what's going on, and so you let a lot of things inside of you. Okay, my phone's talking. Everybody's talking. My watch is talking. Anyway, you don't see these things as a child. You don't have the awareness to understand that these things are entering your soul. And that's fine. You're not judged for that. You're not condemned for that. However, you do get to a point where you recognize these things. For instance, this may be the first time that you're hearing this. This may be the 50th time that you're hearing this. But whenever we become aware of it, that's when we have the power to change it. And that's when we have the obligation to ourselves in terms of fixing it, in terms of correcting it, in terms of releasing it, and in terms of stopping it from happening further. So when it comes to things like this, and people have harmed you, you have to forgive them. Because when you become knowledgeable, or I should say, when you become aware that people have hurt you, because look, people are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s who are just learning that the things that their parents did to them were unloving. They're just finding out that the reason why their life has been a complete wreck is because of their parents. Because of the unloving things that were done to them. that they didn't know about. They didn't know they were unloving. They felt that it was wrong. They felt that it hurt. And sometimes they don't even feel that it's wrong. They feel that it just hurt. And some people are raised to believe that this is the way that it is, and that we're supposed to feel pain, and we're supposed to, and this pain is punishment because we're bad. Like, some people are raised like this, and so they're raised to believe that the pain is warranted. They're raised to believe that the pain is justified, and they're raised to believe that the pain is due them. This is how they're raised. They're raised to believe that that God is doing this, that God is punishing them, that God is doing this because they're bad, because they're not worthy. All these different things are lies. They're falsehoods that are taught, and they're accepted as truth. And you have to forgive all of these things. I have to forgive the people who mistreated me growing up. I have to forgive the people who have perpetrated me growing up. I have to forgive the uncomfortable feelings that people wanted me to feel. I have to forgive all of these different things. But before I can forgive them, I have to understand them. And that's the part of the journey that I'm on now, is having a greater understanding as to the things that happen. Because once I understand why it happened, once I understand the condition that they were in and why they did it, then I'll have the capacity to forgive, because then I'll have a full understanding as to why it happened. I'll have a full understanding as to what dwelled within my soul before they did what they did. A person cannot do something to you unless you have the permission slip in your soul. Understand that. The degraded emotional injuries that are within your soul is a permission slip for other people to do those things to you. This is why it's so important to identify what those emotional injuries are and get rid of them. So that you remove the permission slip. You say, hey, look, I don't give you permission to do this. Because that's really what's happening. There's not a long line. You know, it's like, that's actually, it's just what I said. It's a permission slip. And that gives people who have the capacity to do that. A loving soul would not take advantage of you. So it doesn't matter if you hold the permission slip, they won't do it. But there are people who want to do it, and that's what the permission slip is there for. To allow them to continue to do it, to continue to do what has been done to them to others. That's the difference. And so you want to get rid of that permission slip. You want to say, hey, look, you know what? I don't stand for this. I won't allow anybody to do this to me. So I have to release it. I have to forgive the people who've done this. I have to forgive myself for going along with it for so long. Because people who abuse you, people who take advantage of you, sometimes you say, well, you know, people do this with karma, especially New Age people. Well, I deserve it because I did X, Y, and Z. And sometimes it's not even connected to X, Y, and Z. Or X. It's not even connected, but sometimes we will say to ourselves, oh, well, that's something, you know, well, because, or how about this? Someone stole from me, so that's why someone, or I stole from someone at some point, or I did something unloving at some point, and now this is my payback, this is my penalty. Okay, that car looks like Tron. I don't know what they were thinking when they did that. I don't know what that is. What is that? Why? They like it, so I guess it's cool. Anyway, so yeah, so some people may use that karma thing as an excuse or a permission slip, if you will, to condemn themselves for the things that have been done to them. People will justify it. And that's one way, you know, people will justify pain in order to not feel the pain. They can say, oh, well, you know, I did this, so I deserve that, instead of feeling the pain of what was done to them. So people fool themselves, and other people don't have to lie to them. People will lie to themselves. And you have to forgive yourself about this. I mean, there are children who believe that they are bad and they deserve the spanking. They deserve the beating. They deserve the yelling. They deserve the condemnation. They deserve the put down. They deserve the stress. They deserve the pressure. You know, the harm, the hurt, the pain, the suffering. They believe that they deserve this because they're taught to believe this. They're taught that this is the way it's supposed to be. And at some point, they will have to forgive themselves for believing those untruths. And sometimes, I mean, for a child, it's difficult for them to discern. They don't know what that is. They just know that something hurts or something's good. It's very simple, you know. But they don't understand all that's going on. And so they take on ideas and they try to make sense of it the best way they know how. And sometimes making sense out of something with a low consciousness or awareness creates more degradation, creates more falsehood, creates more more I don't know, more something, I can't remember what I was going to say, I'm sorry. So but at some point they will have to forgive themselves for it, and in addition to forgiving those who put it within their awareness, within their consciousness, you know. So forgiveness is something that you have to do, because if you don't, you're going to be on the hook, meaning you're going to continue to feel the pain, you're going to continue to feel the suffering, you're going to continue to feel the lack of worth, you're going to continue feeling the lack of value, you're going to continue feeling just lack all the way around. And that is the hook, people. That is the hook. And so you want to get off of the hook, because the hook is the thing that is going to lead to pain. And you don't want that. That's what the hook is. It's continued suffering. And you want to get off of that. So this is why you need to forgive yourself when you need to forgive others. For yourself, not for others. Understanding you're forgiving for yourself. You can't control what other people do. And it is their responsibility to, at some point, forgive themselves and to ask for forgiveness for the things that they've done. That's their responsibility. You don't have any power, you don't have any control over that. So don't try to have control over something that you don't have control over. You know, there's I'm needing to give an acceptance speech pretty soon for something. And you know, I've been thinking about what can I say, because no matter where I am or what I do, it's within my being to share something with someone that they can benefit from, you know. And I understand, you know, an acceptance speech is accepting something, you're being recognized for something, but that's not who I am. Like, I don't live for things like that, you know. So this is a platform where I'm going to be talking to a large group of people, and so it's I've been thinking about what can I share with people, you know. And I think this is going to be the topic that I share, because like how I started the video, you know, this is the end of a year, and going to become the beginning of a new one. And so, you know, the reason why I make these videos is to allow people to improve themselves, to see something that they may not have been able to see before, to add something to their lens, to see through, to have a different understanding, or to have understanding, which is having a different understanding, a different perspective. You know, excuse me. So, because I know how important it is, not just in general, but to people, to the society as a whole. Because if 1 or 2 or 3 or 10 or 100 people can improve themselves, that means someone else is going to notice that improvement. That means that someone else is going to see something that they may not have been able to see before. Maybe compassion hasn't been something that you've been able to exude, that isn't something that you've been able to put out there, or have for one another, or have for another. And so you decide to start being, or to start having compassion. To start having understanding and having compassion. And now other people around you who have never seen it before are able to see it, and they see something different, and they may ask and say, or just have an understanding in that moment that, wow, I I see that, and that's something I would like to do. You just never know how you affect people. This is why I can't let anybody who doesn't like me or who hates me to change how I feel about myself and about others. So someone who hates me or doesn't like me, who is dissatisfied with me, who is unhappy with me for whatever reason, just because they have that shouldn't allow, or I should say, I cannot allow that to change who I am. I can't allow someone else's anger to transform me into being like them. Because if I'm attempting to live in love and do things in love and do things in truth, that means that's what I'm standing for. So if I allow someone else to have me stand for something else, that means I'm failing at what I truly desire for myself, which is to live in truth and love. And so this is why I shouldn't have gotten this lane. I need to come get out of it. You know, that's what's important to me. You know, is to maintain truth and maintain love and, you know, maintain integrity in those areas. I have to keep it together. Keep it together. Keep it together forever and ever. I think that's a Madonna song. Keep it together. Keep it together forever and ever. So yeah. Forgiveness. Let yourself off the hook and release your bond. Because when you don't forgive someone, when you hold someone in contempt, when you're condemning another, when you're blaming another, when you're hating another, you're maintaining a bond with that person. So, you know, a situation may come up where you're angry, and that person may pop up in your mind. You may just see that person, and all that anger and hatred comes up, and that's a bond that you have. And so the bond that you have with people can't be broken, but the type of bond that's created is what can be changed. The type of bond that you have is what can be changed, I should say. So you can have a negative experience with someone and have a negative bond with someone, but once you forgive them, the bond is still there. You won't forget them. They'll always be there, but the type of bond that you have is what's different. The energy that that creates or that make up that bond is what is different, and that's what's important. You want to be able to have these bonds that you have with people to be a high vibrational bond, a bond of love, a bond of love, a bond of love towards that person. So despite what they've done to you, you want to have a bond of love, but you cannot have that bond of love if you do not forgive them, because that forgiveness is what changes the structure of that bond, the energy of that bond. And that's what's important. Nah, I mean, that's what's important. I should have stayed in that lane, but I didn't. Oh well. I made that coffee a bit weak. So yeah, forgiveness is so important. You know, there are many people who have done so many things to me in my life. I've shared some of them with you, not all of them, but I shared some of them with you. Some of you can't believe some of the things that have happened because it hasn't happened to you, and some of you have experienced more or more intense things than I have. But it doesn't matter the things that the particular things that happen to you, but what matters is that you're able to forgive the people who do those things. And one of the things, or one of the ways I've been able to do that is to understand, how would I word it? Oh, Jesus Christ. What are you, is somebody walking? That's who I didn't want to get behind. Every time I get behind one of these trucks, all the fumes come into my car. So, anyway, oh, I was saying, oh, one of the things, what was I saying? One of the things, what is this man doing? You seem a little confused, sir. Oh, because you're probably on that phone. With your broken brake light. I don't know if he's on his phone or his car is just malfunctioning. Conjunction. What's your function? Oh. This BMW will not let me on the side. You won't let me pull over? Asshole. You want to be an asshole? Well, be an asshole. It's okay. You on the hook. You're on the hook. Anyway, forgive, one of the things that has helped me is to pull away from those who hurt me. And that's really big. Because it's hard, it's very difficult to forgive someone when you're in pain real time. So as someone is present and they're constantly or continually or presently harming you, it's hard to forgive. But you have to ask yourself, why are you still there? Why are you still there taking the abuse? Being abused, being used, being beaten, being torn down, being told you're not much of anything, being told you're worthless, and feeling hopeless and helpless. It's hard to forgive someone while you're actively standing there. So, and I know it's hard to understand when you have emotions involved. But look at it like this. You're standing in front of someone, and you're standing in their environment. You're standing in their energy, and your energy too. So let's say you're standing in a field of shit, okay? And you're surrounded by shit because you can smell it. You can feel the effects of it in your nose. And you just don't feel good. You don't feel clean. You don't feel like everything is okay. But then the other person picks up the shit with their hand and they start throwing it at you. How can you forgive someone for doing that when you're standing there taking it? You have to remove yourself from the pain. You have to make an active decision. You have to make a decision to actively remove yourself from the pain. Actively remove yourself from the hatred. Actively remove yourself from the rage. You have to take some type of action. You have to be part of the process. You can't not be part of the process. You have to physically remove yourself from, if you're being abused, you have to remove yourself from the person who's abusing you. You have to remove yourself from that. If you see a train coming and you're standing on the tracks, you can't blame the train for hitting you when you know what's going to happen. You know that you're going to get hit by the train. You know that this person who just picked up shit is going to throw it at you because they have been throwing it at you. You know from experience. The only reason why you know that you're going to get hit by a train and killed is because you've heard of someone being hit by a train and killed. You know the impact. You know the consequence of that impact. So it gives you, puts you in a position to make a decision, make a choice to get out of harm's way. So you have to put yourself out of harm's way. Get yourself out of harm's way. And when you do that, what you're doing is you're making a choice. You're saying, I don't deserve to die. I don't deserve to be abused. I don't deserve to be used. I don't deserve to be mistreated. I don't deserve anything that is unloving. And as you remove yourself from the situation, you're telling yourself, you're making a sole decision. You're saying, I care. I love myself. And I have to step away from this abuse. And then at that point, you can forgive the other person for what they've done. But you cannot forgive a person for what they are doing, because you are part of what they are doing as long as it's being done. As long as you're present, you are a cooperative component to that. You have to remove yourself from that. And that's what I had to do. I can't expect, my friends and family or people who I saw as my friends and my family members to change. There was a time when I wanted them to change. I wish they would have changed. And I wished it because I wish my experience would have been different. But the bottom line is, my experience that I had isn't different. It is what it is. And I have to look at the truth of that. So I had to pull back and I had to say to myself, hey, these people can't love me. And I accept that. Meaning I accept them for who they are, where they are right now in this moment. And because I've done that, I've been able to soften my heart, meaning the heart of stone has become more of a heart of flesh. And so the truth and the love of God has been written upon it, which allows me to operate differently, which allows me to think about them, but not feel afraid. Now, there's some things that are still there when I think about certain family members, because I haven't released those emotional injuries. But I'm not condemning them for it anymore. That's the difference. I'm letting myself off the hook. And so now my responsibility is to release the things that are within me. And now that I've removed myself and I don't allow those ill feelings to be absorbed within my soul anymore, I've stopped the momentum. I've stopped the momentum of degradation entering my soul. And so now I'm able to breathe. I'm able to exist and without pressure being put upon me, without feeling uncomfortable around these people, or just feeling uncomfortable, period. Because it's the peace and ease and quiet that allow you to see things. Because when you're busy trying to shield yourself from all the hurt and all the pain and all the suffering, you're actively doing that, and you're not actively working on yourself, because you're actively holding up a shield. And sometimes you're not just holding up a shield, you're holding up a sword. And this is what's important. You stop the momentum, stop the degradation from happening. This is why you have to pull back from your friends. So you can't forgive someone, people, when you're constantly and consistently and presently being abused. Because you're saying, what is there to forgive? If you're standing there, taking the abuse, experiencing pain and suffering, that's a choice. How are you going to forgive when they're constantly doing it? Oh, so that's equivalent to this. Someone has a knife, right? And they just put the knife into your flesh, and now they're slowly moving the knife. And you're saying, I forgive you for doing this. I forgive you for doing this. I forgive you for doing this. It doesn't make any sense. Not when you have the power to remove yourself from it. Now, it's different when you look at the crucifixion of Jesus. When you look at the I was going to do it again. When you look at the crucifixion of Jesus, he couldn't get out once they nailed him to the cross. So when they were, doing all the things and whipping him, he couldn't escape. There's nowhere he could have gone. So, but he was forgiving them in the moment. But that's because he couldn't remove himself from what was happening in the moment. But when you are able to move yourself, then you have the obligation to remove yourself. When you have the capacity to remove yourself, you have the obligation to remove yourself from pain, from any and all pain. But that's not to say ignore the lesson that's associated with the pain. Because with every experience of pain that comes your way, there's a lesson involved. And that's important to understand, because if you don't, more pain will come. If you don't get the lesson that's associated with the pain, more pain will come. So it matters not if you remove yourself from the pain. The universe will just find another person to give you that pain so that you can get the lesson. That's all the pain is there for. It's a lesson. It's a gift. Pain is a gift wrapped up, and within the wrapping is a lesson. But you have to face the pain, meaning you have to accept the pain, and you have to unravel it. You have to open it to see what the lesson is, to get what's inside. It's like that is just exactly what I said. Pain is a gift being given to you, and it's your responsibility to open it and see what's inside of it so that you can get the lesson, so that you don't get any more of those types of experiences. Because those aren't the gifts that you want to receive. You want to receive gifts that are pleasurable, not painful. The Creator only gives gifts, people. That's all that the Creator knows how to give, is gifts of love. And if you don't want to take an active role in learning about your soul, learning about the universe, you're learning about how your soul communicates with the universe, how things happen, why things happen. If you do not want to take an active role in learning those things, the Creator has to give you those lessons in a different way. I've said a long time ago, I told the universe how I want to receive my lessons. I don't want to receive my lessons in a painful, extremely painful way. I want to receive it in an easy way, in a peaceful way. You know, give me a little bump, give me a little thump here if I need it, but I don't want it to be, you know, this, you know, life-changing, life-altering, painful event or events. That's the choice that I made. That's what I decided to do. But in order for that to continue to happen, I have to hold up my end of the bargain, meaning I have to hold up my end of the deal. I have to continually be active in looking what's going on within me, looking at the things around me, paying attention to people around me, paying attention to people's lives that are in front of me. I'm only presented with people who are there to help me. Their situation is there to help me see something within myself. So I have to actively or constantly be active in that role. That's the deal. That is the deal that I made. The deal was, okay, Creator, I do want to change. I will do my part in finding out how to help myself, how to see the lessons, how to see the messages. Give me the messages, but please give them to me in this way. But in order for that to happen, I have to be active in it. God has to see some type of effort on my part in order to sustain that deal. If that isn't happening, then that deal can't be sustained, and God has to basically instruct the universe to bring me something that's going to be a little bit more oomph, or have a little more oomph. You know, it has to be more in my face. Jolt him because he's not paying attention himself. So do something to get his attention. That's how it happens. All right, everybody, you guys have a great Friday, and I will talk to you guys later. All right, now, bye.